Yo, what it is, YouTube? It's your boy Nixie coming back with another bullseye of a tutorial here today on the channel. So I wanted to talk about J. Cole. So this is going to be part 1 in my J. Cole series. A little bit later, this week, I'm going to put out an actual full in-depth J. Cole tutorial where I show you how to mix J. Cole type vocals and everything. Going to put out a preset. But this is the first one that talks about tracking, so we're going to go over how J. Cole records and everything like that. So if you guys do have any more comments or suggestions down below, go ahead and drop it. I'm more than happy to get to it. So with somebody like J. Cole, he's a legendary lyricist. He is most certainly a GOAT. He's given us so many timeless albums, and especially right now with rap where it's at, J. Cole's kind of a rare breed where he can give you some of those lyrics and incredible storytelling rap, and it feels so casual. It feels like he's just talking to you on the street. He's known for being very smooth. I think when it comes to something like a tracking chain, I kind of see it like basketball. I think J. Cole played basketball in college too, right? I kind of see recording the whole mixing process kind of like basketball. So, with mixing, you kind of want to get the vocal to sound very good in the very beginning, or else you're going to be kind of playing catch up for the rest of the process. It's kind of like when you play basketball. If you go up in the first quarter or any other sport where if you go up and you get a good lead in the beginning of the game, the rest of the game is going to be pretty smooth for you because, you're ahead. You don't got to worry about it. You could do other little tricks. You could be smooth, kind of like J. Cole. He knows that if he goes in there, catches the vibe, does a good take very early on, then the rest of the process is going to be smooth for his producer, his engineer, and even himself. If you want to go back in there and like change a word, it's kind of like in sports. If you go down by 20, you got to do all this work to get yourself back into the game just to be tied, let alone, actually be, positive. So that's kind of how I see making music. You got to get it right in the beginning, and J. Cole's incredible. So with J. Cole's chain, I went to this article right here, and the song I'm going to be doing this week is going to be coming from 2014 Forest Hills Drive. And I was looking at J. Cole's chain, which was a U87 into a 1073 into a Universal Audio 1176, which is a pretty interesting chain. So with the microphone, when it comes to somebody like J. Cole or any rapper in general, you got to understand your attributes. If you got a rapper like J. Cole where he's being a lyricist and he's actually saying something, well, you might just want a microphone that actually brings out, what he's saying something, what he's saying about and how he's putting together his words. He's a magician with words. Honestly, J. Cole is a wizard with words. And I would use something like a Neumann 87 because it's something that is very direct and it picks up all of the nuances, how J. Cole's, like he's saying all this stuff and all his different flows, his transitional flows. I want you to hear every single word of J. Cole. So that's why I would use something like a U87 because it's kind of like a magnifying glasses for his flows and his words and the way he's, telling the overall message of the song. So I did a real life test between my UA Sphere against the Neumann U87, and it was so close. I couldn't even tell the difference. So if you don't have money to buy a U87, you might want to get a UA Sphere, which is only like $1,000 versus this microphone, which is $3,000. But honestly, this microphone is very, very, very good. I'm not gonna lie. It's very good for rappers. I know Jay-Z, 50 Cent, was another person who used it. Nas also used something like a U87. So, sometimes if you're thinking about picking a microphone, you might want to find your favorite artist or somebody who kind of has a voice like you and say, oh, that's what the type of microphone they're using. Let me look into it. And you're going to need a little bit of ear imagination to imagine what a microphone will sound like on you before you even use it. You're going to have to imagine, if I had it, how would it sound like on my voice before you even buy it? Or you can go to a local studio and try it out. So I like the U87 because it has that presence boost. It has a little bit of activity kind of going on in the upper mid. So that's pretty good because when it comes to hip hop, where you got the 808 hitting hard, the kick hitting hard, you want the vocals to be present and still cut through. And sometimes you might not have to do too much work mixing if you have a good enough vocal performance with a good enough microphone that stays true to the picture. After that, I will use something like, the Neve 1073, which is pretty good for J. Cole's voice because with J. Cole's music, his music is kind of warm. And, something like a Neve that has that transformer in it, it kind of has a warming characteristic, it adds a little bit of body, just a little bit of weight to that low mid, which is warmth. Warmth is always known for, it's kind of like when you put something in the oven and everything like that. As it gets warmer and warmer, or like bread, it starts to rise a little bit. It starts to gain a little bit of size. So I kind of see a transformer like that too, when it comes to something like the Neve 1073. a U87 and a 1073, if you can't sound good with that chain, then I don't know what to tell you, because that's a can't miss chain. Deep voice, high voice, any instrument, it's just a can't miss chain because it works so well. You know what I mean? And the Neve 1073, pretty interesting. You know, if I had the actual hardware unit, usually with Neves, people don't push them too hard. They push them in like the 35, the 40 spot, just to get a little bit of that tone, just to make, you know, enhance the performance of the rapper. Usually with microphone pre's, that's what it was made for. It was just made to preamplify the actual signal, to give a little bit power. But over time, you know, these are kind of like becoming like seasoning and kind of like taste type of things. You know, usually when you pick a preamp, it's kind of all coming down to how you want to prepare the dish, which is the vocal of the artist, you know. And then the last thing I would pick when it comes to the hardware is gonna have to be the Serpent Audio 1176. I like this one a lot because you have the option of going between the black face and the blue face. You also have the high pass filter as well. You know, you get all these different modes, and you pay attention to how, you know, specifically with J. Cole, I would use something like 500 series, because I know J. Cole, he's the type of dude, when he gets inspired, he's ready to go, you know. So sometimes as an engineer, maybe you should think about that with your setup. You know, how much space do you have? Because the home studio's only got a limited amount of space. So, you know, sometimes, you know, you're thinking about getting all this gear or this expensive microphone, big old speakers, and you don't have no space for it. You know, it's like going to the supermarket and you only grab the basket rather than a full shopping cart. I mean, you could only put so much stuff inside of that little basket before it's full. Okay, cool. So that's the main thing I wanted to come back to with the J. Cole vocal, is I would use something definitely like the Universal Audio Sphere. I use the U87 emulation. The really good thing about this microphone is that you get 3 variations of the U87. You get the modern, you get the vintage one as well, which is a little bit warmer as well. You know, usually if you were trying to go for a throwback sound, you might want to use something like this. It has a different character to it. You know, it has a different taste. You know, this one is kind of like you know, Himalayan salt, and this one is kind of like plain salt. You know, this is like the regular salt that just gives you the taste, but the other one gives you a little sprinkle of something else. But at the end of the day, they're both 87s. There's also another emulation with the Sphere, which is the 87 TK, which kind of has like a smiley face frequency response. So that's pretty interesting. You know, rather than to buy a U87 and only have one sound, you could maybe possibly just get this microphone and you're pretty much good. That's it. So yeah, after that, you know, I would use something like the 1176, the Rev E, which, you know, is pretty good too, because maybe with J. Cole's vocal, 1176, you see as I'm talking right now, is moving all over the place. It's kind of, you know, sometimes if you got somebody who don't know how to rap, they might not give a good vocal performance, and the needle might start moving all over the place, which would make the compression audible. And usually when you're tracking somebody like J. Cole, you don't want the compression to be audible. You kind of just want something that's just going to control it. But sometimes you might not even need no compression, because J. Cole, he's already smooth in his own way that he's talking, you know what I mean? So even you see right now, I'm kind of like clipping a little bit depending on what words I say and everything like that. So, you know, if you wanted to use maybe something like an 1176 in a creative way, you could use it as a saturator. You know, you could just turn that bit off right here. You just click off, and you wouldn't even be getting compression. Pretty much, you would only just be getting the tone of the transformer. So you could do it in a way where you use the Neve preamp to get a little bit of that weight, that transformer weight, then use a little bit of that 1176 to get a little bit of that transformer weight. And it's kind of funny because I'm clipping right now. So yeah, that's kind of the thing about 1176, is that the needle is going to move all over the place. In different words, got a different amount of energy. So with somebody like J. Cole, he already know how to rap smooth to keep it kind of consistent in one place, kind of like this, you know? So that's the thing, because sometimes when you're rapping, you don't want to have to worry about this type of stuff. You know, you want to only have to worry about giving a good performance. And that's why an engineer is important, because the engineer, sometimes they might even ride the gain going into the compressor so it doesn't jump all over the place. So that's why I feel like when it comes to something like 1176, you might just want to only be using, you know, only like 1 to 2 dB, nothing crazy, just to tap it. And depending on the flow of the rapper, if they rapping pretty slow, it might work for them. Sometimes 1176, they work really good for singers, because when they hit the high notes, it just pretty much gives a little bit of that control and it gives a little tonal character. But for the most part, when it comes to rapping, people doing all these exotic flows and stuff all over the place, you know, you might just want to use something like an optical compressor, because it will smooth out the performance. Slow attack lets a lot of the transient come through, versus 1176 with J. Cole, which might be a little bit too grabby, might take away some of that impact, some of that high mid energy. And yeah, that's pretty much all that I have for the tutorial today. This is also the you know, Neve that I would use for J. Cole, pushing it to like 40, getting a moderate amount of saturation. So if you guys are interested in this template, go ahead and check it out down below. You can get it for free. Any more questions? If you learned something from this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Appreciate it now. Peace.